Prisoners in Israeli jails in occupied Palestine declare a state of general mobilization in the face of repression by Zionist forces, a measure that Palestinians inside and outside the occupied territories are calling on to support until all prisoners, without exception, are released. Let us see.
The Israeli occupation authorities, since the escape of 6 Palestinians from the Gilboa maximum security prison last September 2021, increased arbitrary arrest rates and punitive measures against prisoners, a situation that provoked an explosion, strikes and clashes inside and outside the prisons, in rejection of the escalating repressive measures of the Tel Aviv regime against the inmates, and in repudiation of the silence of the world community in the face of the aggressive Israeli policy. We call on international human rights organizations to adopt a clear and forceful position and to put pressure on the Israeli prison service to stop the repressive measures against Palestinian prisoners. Otherwise, we, as resistance forces, will not stand by and watch the suffering of our fellow prisoners, and so we will proceed to armed confrontation with Israeli occupation troops. We work to make the Palestinian prisoners' case a world public opinion case in order to increase popular and official support, both locally and internationally, for the prisoners' battle against repression by Israeli prison guards. Like the Palestinians in the occupied territories, the brothers living in Syria expressed their solidarity with the prisoners and their support for their battle for freedom. In addition to exhibiting in Damascus a documentary on the chaotic situation suffered by detainees in occupation prisons, the leaders of the different Palestinian factions and their Syrian brothers awarded numerous released captives in a clear message of support for their cause and their general mobilization against Israeli repression. This tribute to the released prisoners sends a clear message of support to the prisoners who still remain in occupation jails, where they suffer torture and mistreatment. And to these heroes we send the message that we stand with them in the battle for their freedom. We do not trust international organizations, because when I was in occupation prisons, I suffered a lot from the lack of action of these organizations, for they submit to the will of the United States, European countries, and Israel, and act without coordinating with Israeli authorities regarding the case of prisoners. More than 4,500 Palestinians, including women and minors, are languishing in the prisons of the Israeli occupying power. Their battle is the battle of all Palestinians and other free peoples of the world, a reality that is evidenced by the numerous acts of solidarity with the prisoners taking place both in Syria and in the other countries of the resistance bloc.
Hisham Wannous, Telesur, Damascus, Syria.